This is my boomstick.
Right, Dan, back for another episode where today we're going to dive into Doom 2016, the game that asks one simple question: what if anger had a soundtrack?
And the answer was guitars so heavy they could collapse a bridge.
It's one of the few games where the soundtrack sounds like a washing machine full of chainsaws.
Yeah, Mick Gordon didn't compose music. He summoned it from a cursed USB stick found in hell.
Gameplay aggressive, you say? Seriously, this game doesn't even believe in cover systems. Other shooters say, take cover, regenerate health. Doom says, health is in that demon over there, go punch it.
Therapy through uppercuts.
And the story presentation is incredible. Within 2 minutes, the Doomslayer literally smashes a monitor because someone starts explaining the plot.
Honestly, most relatable protagonist in gaming history.
Sir, the demons have breached the facility.
Cool, where's shotgun?
That's the whole script.
Meanwhile, every other modern shooter in 2016 was desperately trying to be emotional cinema. Doom walked in wearing steel boots and said, what if violence?
And somehow it still revitalised the franchise completely. Fast movement, glory kills, metal music, double jumping, plus the constantly moving at 100 miles per hour like you're chugging energy drinks.
Yeah, so today we're talking about why Doom 2016 was such a massive comeback, whether it saved the arena shooter, and why every encounter felt like being locked inside a blender with satanic wildlife.
And more importantly still, how many demons Dan H thinks he could realistically beat in real life.
3. No. 2. No. 1. Yeah, that's it. None.
All right, so sit back, grab the shotgun, lower your blood pressure expectations, and let's talk Doom. Yes, welcome back everyone for another episode of Gaming Views, where today we're diving headfirst into Doom 2016, the reboot that reminded the world sometimes the best plan is to run forward and cause chaos. And charging in beside me with the energy of a chainsaw pickup and zero concern for health and safety is my co-host, the slayer of hot takes himself, Dan H. Hi Dan, how are you doing?
Doom guy doesn't speak, so I'm just being stoic.
Stoic.
I'm all right. That's not going to make good watch movie thing TV
listening.
Pop. No, what are we doing?
Talking.
Podcast.
Yeah.
I'm all right. I'm all right. It's been a while. It's been a while, man. We're back in the hot seat.
Yeah, a little bit.
Don't break the magic, Dan. Don't break the magic.
Do we reveal? Yeah, we're recording basically like 3 episodes in quick succession. So, because you know. What's the word?
It's you.
Schedules.
It's because you. I'm blaming you for this. I told you before, if I was going to do this fucking podcast, no one's allowed holidays. Right?
So So you might the next couple of episodes, you know, are going to seem seamless to you, but Dan and I, well, mostly me, have been pulling my hair out how I rearrange this for the wonderful Dan H. But we're doing it.
That is true.
We're doing
it. We are good. We're doing it.
So. Shall we start where we normally start?
Where do we normally start? Housekeeping?
We should do, yes. So, yeah, absolutely. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, so go for it.
For all those people who have watched and stuck with us, thank you very much as always. And thank you for your comments. Keep them coming in. We do absolutely love it. And also, if you haven't and you're with us for the first time, welcome. Join us for the ride. And honestly, just that little button, just click that little subscribe button. I know it takes like the inch of a mouse move and a click of a button. It doesn't mean a lot to you. It means the world to us. Thank you very much if you do. And we'll see you on the next episode. It's not the end, it's the start. Like, subscribe, do your thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it's very good. Thank you. Yeah, right, it's better than what I would have done because I forgot. So, actually, what we're talking about that, let's do second week of Comment Corner because we've got comments down.
Got to get a jingle for this, mate. You got to get a jingle for this now.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll find one.
So while we're recording, the episode that has come out is the backlog episode, which I thought was wonderful. So go listen to that. We had a number of comments on this. So on YouTube, we had on the sales psychology short, we had Cavlor1 said, Yeah, you look at your old games and you think, meh, I've already played them. Truth is, though, you push yourself to play them again. And before you know it, you're looking forward to your next session. And I think I replied saying, I know I tend to, I keep mentioning that gaming funk after playing a good game. And there's a certain fallback, which I know you won't like me mentioning, but Mass Effect.
Mass Effect. Is it Mass Effect? Oh, okay, just checking. I hope I hadn't got it wrong.
But we then had Norwich Fella on the Backlog Burden short saying, I'm guilty of this. I've got a ton of games on the Xbox that I haven't touched. And last week I said to myself, it's time to get my money's worth. I've also embraced AI in a way I thought I would never do. Now, I responded saying that I've always said to myself that I would love to play through my Xbox catalogue in alphabetical order, just to play it in some logical manner. What about you? Would you do that?
No. I do have a backlog, but I keep looking. I said before, I'm a bit of a magpie, so I see the shiny thing and I go, "Oh, that's come out. I'm going to go and play that." So I really struggle to get hold of my backlog and play with it properly.
Yeah, we've got a couple more. We had Cutty said on the video of why gamers buy and don't play. Building up my Steam library is a game in itself. Steam sales are my downfall. Buying games at a nice cheaper price when I still haven't finished started games from the previous 5 years' sales. So I mentioned to him in the video that will have come out by now, the game about that takes your backlog.
Yes. Yeah. I included clips in that actually in the last one. There is some video of that. It does look pretty cool. I'm going to play that. What
happens if you don't play that game though?
It just eats your SSD.
It wipes your game
just
catalog.
Eats your SSD, mate. Just kills it. Having it. I think there was a game that was doing that recently, wasn't there? Was there a game that was
the pirate game?
Windrose. Yeah, it was killing. Yeah. Windrose was killing your SSD. It was read writing way too much information in a session.
Optimization, right?
Well, it's pirates. Piracy is bad for you, mate. Told you.
They'd be very bad. They are.
They are.
We had a message from Game Club Pod on where you mentioned about the Netflix paradox, and they said, I have the exact problem. I have Ghost of Tsushima on Steam, but my backlog is so huge that I can't bring myself to start it. And what did you reply to Joey there?
I said there was no excuse not to start a Ghost of game, because they're fucking brilliant. I mean, there's only two of them, but they're still brilliant. So Joey, naughty.
Yeah, next video we want to be reading a comment where you said you love playing Ghost of Tsushima.
Correct.
We had a couple of older videos, Crimson Desert, that attracted a couple. So we had, there's a game I'm not sure if, I think you've seen it a couple of times. Thursday's Grade 1571 said, over 30 years gaming, Crimson Desert is how it's done. Never trust or listen to anyone from IGN or really any other reviews.
Fair point.
Yeah, and on a similar vein, at Zenshawn Gaming said, can't spell ignorant without IGN. It's time the entire gaming community finally dismisses IGN as the worst takes generator that it is.
I quite like that comment. Can't spell ignorant without IGN. Yeah. Very funny.
And just another couple of comments. This was over on TikTok. Brotherman Bill said, new to deck builders and roguelikes, tried Slay the Spire. It's okay, but found it frustrating. But I find Vampire Crawlers much more satisfying. Chrono Pixel Gaming said 3,000 plus never played games on Steam. I think I have a problem. I mean,
maybe. Maybe. I bought 3,000 things, but never played them. One of them. Yeah.
And I've included this one, but Fireside Chat Gamer said, nice podcast, guys. And so thank you very much.
Well, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
Yeah. So please do leave comments on our videos, because they are great, and it gives me something to do in between episodes as well. So
it's true.
Yeah. True. Yeah. There's a couple of things in those comments I'm going to come on to in the news section. So let's quickly move on to what we've been playing then.
Okay.
So, Dan, why don't you tell us?
Dan, question for you. Do you like massive sprawling RPGs?
I love massive sprawling RPGs.
Do you like massive sprawling RPGs where the second word of the title is Dawn?
Do I? Dawn? Yes.
Okay. And do you like massive sprawling RPGs where the second title is Dawn and the first word of the title is colour related?
Okay. Yes.
Well, you're in luck, my friend, because this week I've been playing a game that meets all of those three requirements, and it's called Alabaster Dawn.
Not heard of that.
Have you not? Right, okay. You thought I was going for Crimson Dawn, didn't you? Yeah, I wasn't.
Well, no, because then I realised that was Crimson Desert, but I got confused. I just wanted to play along.
Yeah, that's how it works if I get the name right, doesn't it?
I just wanted to play along because I don't like feeling like I don't know.
No, I'll get the name right next time. Sorry, people. Scrap that joke. So I've been playing Alabaster Dawn, which is a massive retro style, like Zelda style RPG. Only just come out. It came out in early access earlier this week. Yeah, I think it was Thursday. And I picked that up. So, little bit of story. So I picked up Dead as Disco. Loved it, right? Had a really good time with it. Played all of the boss levels. Beat them all. It's in early access, all four of them. Enjoyed a bit of the arena stuff. Didn't get to upload any music, but enjoyed it. Looked at my Steam account and realised I played it for 90 minutes. There's not a lot of content in there, fellas, right? So when you play that, there's not a lot of content in there. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to wait a while and go back to that game when there's a bit more stuffing. So I refunded it on Steam.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I picked up Alabaster Dawn. So, Alabaster Dawn is, a Zelda-style retro RPG that's been created by, I think they're a German company, and it is brilliant. It's Zelda, but with better combat. Okay. So you have the ability to chain attacks together. You can parry, you can block. You have power ups and things like that. And it's quite an interesting little story stuck behind it. So that you basically are in this world. You are a chosen. So you play out the kind of opening scene as one of our ancestors, and the planet gets invaded by this. It's called the Nyx. I mean, not really quite sure what it is this early in the story. But essentially, it curses the world, and you and your fellow humans, I assume they're humans, go underground. And in the story, you emerge as this character called Juno, and she is kind of one of the chosen. And there were originally, I think it was 12 chosen. I think it was 6 warriors and 6 sage. And your job is to, I'm assuming, pull your crew back together, go and defeat the evil. But it's just beautiful. It's an amazing world. You spend time rebuilding villages that you come across. So, you help them out, and the more quests you do for that village, the more your affinity with that village rises. There's skill trees across both your weapons and your health and other stats. And it's just a joy to play. I've found myself, quite invested in it. So I've been playing that. I shouldn't have, because it's another RPG I've been playing alongside another RPG. So I shouldn't have. But because it's so very different in terms of the stylistic, it's very retro. It's very kind of 16-bit. I'm just having a real lot of fun to me. It's taken me back to those kind of heady days of not just Zelda, but some of the more JRPG style ones like Secret of Mana.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of style, yeah. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. As I said, I did play a little bit of Dead as Disco, but not a huge amount. And then the other game, I'll talk about it now because I know you've played it, and we'll talk about it as well. So we should have a chat about that. So I picked up Mixtape, and over the course of 2 days, I kind of end-to-ended that game. And I have to say, normally, and I think it's not a comparison to Life is Strange, but it's that kind of vignette style story I don't normally get along with. I really enjoyed Mixtape. I really loved how it was put together. I loved the music, not all of my style of music, but I actually really enjoyed what they'd done with it. There were some crackers on there, like the David Gray song and the Portishead song in particular are amazing. Smashing Pumpkins one worked really well with the scene. But I'll just lay out very quickly without spoilers. Mixtape is kind of a coming of age vignette style. So a bit like Pulp Fiction, if you like. So you've got these little vignettes that are all playing out a broader story, and there's some flashbacks and stuff stuck in there for good measure, about three friends who have one last night of summer together before they all kind of break up and do their own thing. And it's not a spoiler, it's part of the story that's very clear from the outset. And I think it's really well done. There were moments in that game where again, there's a scene, no spoilers, but a scene where they're I'm going to call it running across the field, and hopefully you'll connect with what I'm saying, Dan. That just for me, I was like, there was an emotional attachment to that. You remember what it was like to be a kid and feel invincible and feel, the power of just owning your own destiny, and anything was possible. And that scene for me really encapsulated that. And I thought it was done so beautifully, although it was very silly and it was just fantastic. And there were things in there that I can't connect, because the main character is, a girl. She's kind of the star of the show, and she's, one of her friends is a young man, and the other one's another girl. So whilst I can't connect with being a young girl and growing up, thematically, the beats of some of it I could very much well connect with, in terms of friendship and camaraderie and, the fallouts and all those things that happen throughout those, your formative years. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And I thought it was so beautifully done. And I know the reviews and stuff have reflected, that as well. Not that we have to count those, but what were your thoughts? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
Loved it.
Okay.
And that's what I was going to say. And I think I said to you, I was quite surprised you were looking forward to it, because it's not usually your sort of game. But what I would say, and again, absolutely no spoilers from me, is that I know I likened it to you in a message to Life is Strange, but it's not. It's more immediate. Look, it's still more of a visual story than a game. But I think there is, now I've seen, and I won't go into it, there's some, if you go into the more angry side of Twitter, there's some really, I think, bad takes out there on this game. But it's, I think it is a lot more, I think, accessible than the Life is Strange games. But it's what you said, it taps into that, where you've left your friends. There's that whole kind of meme about, or not meme, but that whole thing about one day you're going to play with your mates for the last time, but you won't know it's that kind of thing. Whereas this, it's almost like, it's going to be the last time. So you can kind of tap into that emotion. There are some, the set piece interactive bits.
Yeah.
I think what this game does really well is that it starts off like you think, okay, it's a skateboard scene, let's just say that, or like the running scene, but it ends up in something quite different.
Yes.
And it taps into kind of like the imagination of youth, I think, but also
it does.
I kind of like to think of it as like, when you think back to it, you always imagine things a lot more rosier and more bigger than they were. So each of those segments, and there's a couple which I'll say to you, that the running one, like you said, I think the coastal bit, the driving bit where you're driving to a party.
Yeah.
I think even at the start, the shopping cart, that's all I'll say, that one.
Oh, it was phenomenal. Yeah, really, really enjoyed that, and very, very funny. I think while you're doing it, one of the comments from one of the cops, one of the news broadcasters, you see, it pans out to a helicopter recording it, and he talks about it. He says, "I've only ever seen this 4 or 5 times in my career," and that was it. I was in pieces. I thought it was very funny. Yeah, it's very light-hearted, very well done. I did spend almost an hour skimming stones.
Yeah.
I became obsessed with that. That they can make that into a game, a full-fledged, and I would buy it. Yeah. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah. So that's it. You've got lots of little mini games like that, and look, I don't think every part of it or every sort of section there's a couple of sort of misses for me. Nothing sort of negative like that, but some of the bits work so much better, I think, than the others. But the music bit now, as someone who, for me, music has always been important, especially when I was at that age. They're what, 18, sort of 16 to 18?
I would have said 18. They're just between kind of college and,
Yeah, and her love for music, the main character, really struck a chord with me, and I love the way, and again, it's not a spoiler, she'll turn to the camera and say, this is track 15, it's Lush, they were a British band. And like
There's
you said,
some, fourth wall breaks.
Some of the bands like Lush, Portishead, David Gray, that you don't really get in games. You know?
Cracking soundtrack. And as I said, it was an amazing soundtrack. I can't get that Roxy music track out of my head all day.
Oh,
I've just been, I've just been sitting there the whole day humming it.
Yeah.
So I just think there's some absolute bangers in there that you don't realise are bangers until you listen to them. And you're like, some of them, you're just sitting there going, I don't even remember this. And others you're going, I didn't think I remembered this, but I do remember this song. Like Devo at the beginning. Oh my God, I do remember that. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. Taken as an entire piece for what it was and how it operates. You're right. It's not very long. There's a couple of things that aren't as engaging, but taken as a whole piece, it's done beautifully well. And kudos to the guys who created it, because I'm not a young American girl in the late 80s, early 90s or mid 90s, whatever it is. But I can thematically relate to a lot of the things that happened in that game, and really enjoyed it because of that. Yeah,
look, it's kind of like Pragmata supposedly, taps into like the parental instinct or kind of the protective instinct if you haven't got kids. This game taps into the theme of friendship and loss, isn't it? Like loss of friendship. And,
very well.
We've all been there, right? And like I said, I think as an experience, I think it's great. It is very short. I think I clocked in at 2.5 hours, I think. Maybe just over 2 hours.
Probably about something like that for me.
It's on Game Pass. So look, I know we both played it on Game Pass, but I think it's cheap, isn't it? I think it's £20 or £18.
I think it's very expensive,
yeah.
But well worth it for the time and what you do. If that's your sort of thing. Look, if you are purely I only like FPSs and that's all I'm ever going to like, you're not going to get any mileage out of this. Yeah. But if you're willing to expand your horizons, go, do you know what? I'm willing to give something a try. And Life is Strange feels like a bit too much. Like for me, I think this is a perfect segue. And I did get an achievement for the shopping trolley one. So.
Also, the art style is kind of like that South of Midnight stop motion type thing, isn't it?
The stop motion animation in it is just done really, really well. And that whole piece around it, along with some of the things it does. There's a scene in it, no spoilers, but where you'll know what I mean, where you're floating backwards through stuff. And that scene for me, the emotional impact of that scene and the music that goes along with it and the reasoning behind it is beautifully done. But it was one of the ones where I thought that probably could have played out somewhere else a little bit better. But I loved it. Really, really enjoyed it.
And that's it. I think it does what it does really well, each part of it. So the graphics are great, the soundtrack brilliant. I love the kind of the themes through it. I've seen a lot of negativity around it because it's getting such good scores, and they're comparing, say, like for IGN gave it a 10, and people are criticising it because they gave Crimson Desert a 6. And look, I don't want to go into this because we can diverge, but it's something I think I wanted to mention in our game review episode, that I think a game in a genre getting a 10, to me anyway, doesn't mean it's better than, like, that getting a 10 doesn't mean it's 4 times better or twice as good as Crimson Desert, because they're different genres. I think what it's saying, that reviewer in that game, in that genre, has found it to be the top of its class kind of thing. But it doesn't mean it's better than, Pragmata. It doesn't mean it's a better game. This is where scores are dangerous, I think.
And you're absolutely right. This is why scores are dangerous. And I think every game is deserved to be scored on its own merit. And both of those games, Crimson Desert, for the breadth and everything it does so well, I'd happily give a 10, and I'd happily give Mixtape a 10, because I had, it's my measure of enjoyment. Right? The mileage I got out of them was a similar, just on a different level for me. For me, Mixtape was an emotional callback mileage around youth, and for Crimson Desert, it's a balls to the wall action adventure that I can really get my teeth into and do a lot of things and have fun doing it, and then find out there's more shit to do because I've gone down a rabbit hole on Reddit.
And maybe sort of Mixtape really taps into people around our age. I don't know, because we were kind of like 90s kids, weren't we? And
we were. Yeah, totally.
Maybe it's more of a more of a thing there because, there's the bit where you've got to rewind the tape, isn't there? And things like
with the pencil. It's brilliant. That started it off. I was like, this is great.
Even the pause screen is a CD, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, I did love the opening. The opening is brilliant where she basically talks about the history of CDs.
Yeah,
and I just thought that was phenomenal because it doesn't open like a normal story would. It's not nothing in the opening is about the story. It's about music.
Yeah.
And it's beautifully done.
That and I saw a comment somewhere. I can't remember if it's in a review or a comment, but someone said, and it is right. It really does have the feel of is it like a John Hughes movie?
Yes.
Know that?
Yeah, Breakfast Club. Yeah, that exactly like that. Yeah.
So if that's your kind of thing, then that's a vibe I think through this game. Because like I said, the self-referential thing to her love for music for me, that's what made the game. But yeah, look, if you got Game Pass, play it. What have you got to lose out, right?
100%.
Yeah. For me, the only other thing I've really carried on playing is the Thaumaturge. Really, really enjoying that. I kind of, when I mentioned it last time, I was only a few hours in. Now I'm about 12, 14 hours in. Really clicked. The battle now, the combat, I really get it. I've got 6 of the Salutors. I think it's 6 of them now. It's an RPG light in the sense of you don't have an inventory, so you don't have to worry about items, etc.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really, I think, light touch, but some of the stories, some of the things you have to do, some of the side missions, I'm just really enjoying it. And I'm actually, it's like you were saying, I think, a few weeks back about Crimson Desert, I'm actually thinking about when I'm going to play it next, what I'll be doing in that. Okay. So, for something that's just sat in the backlog, ironically, for ages, I'm really enjoying playing that. So,
I am definitely going to start that game. I do need to tear myself away from Crimson Desert at some point.
You say that.
When doing jokes about it on a podcast, get them right. So that I need to do as well. But yeah, I do say that. I will absolutely play because as I said, I have done it. It is on my backlog, Dan, and it is one I will play.
Yeah. Okay. There's a side mission where you had to get donuts. So, and I love donuts.
I'm down for that. Down for that.
All right. Look, we'll move on to the news section. I've intentionally kept it a bit lightweight because we are recording a few episodes so quickly. One of the things I wanted to talk about, and it's kind of looping in Mixtape a little bit. So there was a post came out on social media this week where I think the devs have said for the 007 First Light game that the campaign is going to be about 20 hours.
Okay.
And then there seemed to be like a whole day-long debate about the value of that game. And someone, and I don't know if they're saying that with the old fishing rod, trying to reel people in, but they're saying, look, $65 for a 20-hour game, I'm expecting more. Basically saying that it's too short a game for $65.
Right.
To me, 20 hours feels like that's what we consider like actually a normal length game or even long, because the amount of games now are the majority, if we take out like roguelikes, etc., and RPGs, you're looking around sort of, I thought anywhere between 6 to 10 hours. I thought, I don't know.
It's interesting. None of this really came out, and maybe it's because they didn't announce beforehand, but none of this really came out around Resident Evil Requiem, right? Which is what's that, 13 to 15 hours to beat?
Usually around that, yeah.
Probably similar. I mean, look, I know both incredibly high-profile games, right? Bond as an iconic character, and Resident Evil is a long-standing horror genre game. But yeah, I can't remember. I can't recall anyone kicking off because Resident Evil Requiem was a little bit too short.
Yeah, I've got it here. 11 to 12 hours for standard story-focused playthrough, 14 to 15 hours for thorough, 25 maybe if you want all the achievements.
I'm surprised I remembered that. But yeah, so nobody gets... So what? I don't understand what the big thing is. I mean, maybe stop announcing how long a game is before it comes out. Maybe that will help.
But 20 hours though, what got me was that I don't class that myself as a short game. It depends on the game as well, right? The type of game.
Well, look, I put that probably exactly that amount into Pragmata. Again, different game, different style, right? A bit of replayability. I'm expecting the same sort of thing from Bond. had a fucking whale of a time with Pragmata. If they can get the story right, if they can get the combat and the mechanics right, I'll be happy, boy. 20 hours, don't bother me.
Yeah.
I can fit that in nicely. Do you know what I mean? I can do that and still report on a podcast for it.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, and on my notes, I mixed it in with Mixtape because, so I'm looking at it. That's currently $15.99 on the PlayStation Store right now. Like I said, Mixtape.
Yeah, not Bond. Yeah, sorry.
No, yeah. So, you're looking at it's $15.99 on the Switch 2, $20 on Steam. That, like I said, that took 2 hours. Now, look, all right, I got it on Game Pass.
Yeah.
But again, what I would say is I do think it's short, but I think it's the perfect. We've just extolled its virtues. You know, we've said it. The experience it gives you is perfect. So it's probably worth that. You know, even though it's 2 hours. And you know, how do you stretch it out? Because it is a story about 3 teenage friends. You know, you could stretch it out like Life is Strange, but Life is Strange I don't think is immediate. And you know, I love the first one. It's not as immediate or as vibrant or as fun as Mixtape. So it goes back to this thing about value. What is value? I mean, I was a bit, like I said, I was shaking my head that day when people were complaining that 20 hours is a bit short for a Bond game. I don't know. Let us know what you think.
It's a bit crazy. And you have these games that are massive and sprawling and, you know, designed to do just that. You know, we keep referencing Crimson Desert, but that is one of them. You know, for those who are pissed off at me talking about it, it is massive and sprawling. And for $60, you get a lot of game, right?
Yeah.
Pragmata is not that, but you still get a lot of game, right? You just get it in a different way. So, you know, and if Bond can meet those targets, I'm happy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's shit, I don't care how long it is because I won't play past the first hour. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not...
Well, that's it. And look, and let's celebrate the games like Crimson Desert that give us more for the same price. Let's celebrate games like Mixtape that charge less for a game when they can see that it's not going to give you the 20 hours that other games are. And just let us know what your thoughts are on game value and price, you know, sort of pound or dollar per hour. What's your view on that? Right. The next story, I kind of wanted to follow up on one we mentioned last week. So do you remember we spoke about GameStop looking to buy eBay? So
this guy's fucking sick. I've got to be careful what I say because he'd likely sue us to get some money, but this guy's fucking nuts, man. Like, I'll let you lead in with the story, but I watched this and it was fucking hell.
Well, this is, so I took this headline from PC Gamer, but I love this. I saw it reported through the media. So GameStop eBay saga gets weirder. CEO says he was suspended from eBay he was suspended from eBay for selling stuff on eBay to pay for eBay. So, do you want to go through the story then? If you said you saw it play out.
No, what I saw was his interview. So he did an interview with CNBC in the US, right? Yeah. So he had this interview with CNBC, and they'd obviously got hold of the fact that, hang on a minute, GameStop's worth isn't anywhere near, not even half of what's required to buy eBay. So 2 different reporters or broadcasters in this interview both asked him the same question, going, so how were you preparing to pay for the other half? Like how where's the money coming from? And every time, all he'd do, it was like he was in court on the stand. All he'd do is go, I don't understand the question. Yeah. And you're like, I'm sitting there going, I don't own a business and I'm not trying to buy or sell a business. And I understand the question, which is, you know, that money you need, where is it coming from? I don't understand that question. It was fucking hilarious. And I was just like, this guy looks like an absolute buffoon in front of him. So if anyone is going, I've got real faith in this guy that he's going to pull off this deal, you're going, I don't think I have any faith in him anymore.
Yeah. Well,
he's an idiot.
Well, this is it. So this is a story. It puts a bit more of a spin on it. So Ryan Cohen said he'd been suspended from eBay for putting eBay community at risk, although the suspension was lifted at some point as the account is now viewable again. Fast forward to the 6th of May, just a few days ago for us, And he puts a message on X saying, I'm selling stuff on eBay to pay for eBay. The stuff in question includes games and gaming swag and a variety of sports cards, much of it quite expensive. A GameStop mouse pad, for instance, is currently sitting at $1,525, while a Halo 2 Master Chief statue is pushing $14,000. Not long after he posted the message, there was trouble. Cohen claimed he'd been suspended from eBay for reasons unknown. An image of the suspension message said his account had been permanently suspended because of activity that we believe was putting the eBay community at risk. Now, he was let back 12 hours later, but I just love it that he's trying to buy eBay by selling stuff on eBay. But then he's been banned by eBay. So does that rule him out of buying eBay because he's been banned? He was banned from it.
It's so weird. But there was clearly an answer to the question when they were saying, how are you going to pay for the other half? He just has to say, I'm going to sell shit on eBay.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've certainly not been part of buying a massive corporation, like a $4 billion corporation. But it feels like he clearly hasn't either. So.
Not if he thinks he can make $14 billion on eBay. I mean, that number ain't numbering.
And who's buying a GameStop mouse pad for $1,500? I mean, they're still open, right? So sure.
I think it might be him. Yeah. I think he might not understand how eBay works. If he doesn't understand the simple question, he might be going, I've just bid on this mouse pad I put up for auction and it's now over. I'm going to get loads of money. No, you have to pay for it, dude.
He doesn't understand how his bank account works. But
wow.
maybe to save us from more trouble, we'll move on. But yeah, I guess this story, we'll keep an eye on this because I don't think that's going to be the end of it, right? So
no, I doubt it would be more borrowing the money from Bungie either, will he?
No. And actually, before we move on to that, if you've bought anything from his eBay account, let us know.
Oh my God, please. I'd love for someone on there to go, I funded a part of the purchase of eBay.
Yeah, do I own a bit of eBay? Do you own a bit of eBay then? Right, this story I saw today, and just wanted to include it because it is, when you look at the headline, it is quite a big one. So again, from PC Gamer, Sony records a $766 million impairment loss against Bungie for 2025 financial year. Yeah. And it's believed because of a 1-2 punch of Destiny 2 and Marathon failing to meet its expectations. Now, basically $766 million, which is £562 million. Now, what the impairment means is, as far as I'm concerned, or if I've understood, basically it's the what it's worth now compared to what it was bought for, right? So it's not depreciation or anything, but they bought it at A, it's now worth, or it's valued at B. So
yeah,
that is a massive drop, isn't it?
It is. I think in total, it's $560 million loss on the original deal. Mm-hmm. But I guess with inflation and everything else, I think that's it works out. Yeah, but I mean, it's that, and it's obviously, or it's that plus the amount it took to create and produce Marathon, which also plays into this as well, quite a bit. So I think there was a huge expectation on how much Marathon would make, and we know it hasn't. And I think I saw someone post up on there something about Marathon being doomed, and I think it was that wasn't a pun. Marathon being doomed because I think at the time it had like 600 concurrent players or something on there, which looked, I mean, for a game of that scale, you're kind of going a bit worried now.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's a shame 'cause fucking Destiny are brilliant, man. Yeah. Not Destiny, sorry, Bungie are brilliant. Yeah.
I mean, look, right, I don't think I've seen many stories like this. So who's to say that this isn't natural sometimes, maybe after a game release? Look, does every takeover get this kind of scrutiny? I think because it is Bungie, because it's Sony, because it's there was a lot hinging on Marathon, wasn't there?
Well, and they're only really known for a couple of things, right? So they were known for the original Marathon, they were known for Halo, and then they kind of dropped that. That went over to 343 Studios, and now they're literally just Destiny and just Marathon. So, you can't really apply that same scrutiny to Microsoft who buy something like Activision, Bethesda, and everything else, because there's so many multiples of games in their catalog. So you can't really go, they've built a cut. If Microsoft had built Bethesda and all Bethesda had ever done was, Skyrim. Right, it might be an easier comparative go, well, they've done a new game and it hasn't sold very well, but they've got a plethora of games, and so have Activision, and so it's very difficult to dissect it in a similar way. Whereas it's easy for this, you go, well, they're not very good at other stuff, are they? Clearly, if they bought out Marathon and it's failed, which is really unfair to say, but if that's the perspective, it's it's a bit silly. That whole extraction, looter shooter, hero shooter genre, I'm not saying it's had its day, but every story we hear about this stuff is another one shutting down, another one not being successful, another one on the decline. Why would you release one?
Yeah, it's, even Arc Raiders, which, look, it's obviously still popular among a lot of people. And for us, look, it was all we talked about for a number of weeks, but even totally. That is going through ups and downs. And it's like, if you're releasing it, you've got to really either have the confidence of doing it well, or you've got to support it. And I think that's the other issue, is you can't just release it 3 months, you've not got the sales, and then say, right, well, maybe you have to pack it in then if you don't want to spend too much more. But how are you going to succeed when you've got other games that have been around for years?
Yeah.
And you've got
I'm sure I saw something in the news just after this is saying that they were prepared to still kind of stand behind Marathon and Bungie and continue the development, etc. So I don't think he's going anywhere just yet. It's a shame. I mean, give it time to cook is what I'd say. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, look, in this article, the last paragraph says, excuse me, it's certainly not good news for Bungie, particularly Sony's rather ruthless record of bringing a hammer down on underperforming properties. Look, this, like you said, this is Bungie. They've got a track record, and they've released a game into a market which probably is a bit oversaturated. I don't think they'll be shutting Bungie down or getting rid of them. We don't also know what else is in the pipeline, but it's. I thought it was just an interesting one to mention, because obviously there's always been a lot of finger pointing towards Microsoft way about the Activision, and we've said about the whole Game Pass, and we've seen what's happened when they've rebalanced the books almost there, for want of a far better term.
Totally. And and it is also fair to say that Destiny 2 is on the decline as well in terms of the amount of players it's pulling in. So that's something to bear in mind as they kind of talk about this whole piece around Bungie. It's not just Marathon, in fairness. There is the whole piece around, still not great news, but, they just need something to turn their fortunes around. Maybe Destiny 3?
Yeah. I mean, Destiny's going to have its fan base, right? So
I fucking loved Destiny when it came out, and Destiny 2. I played it for absolutely hours and hours. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah. And the last bit of news I had is actually, it's not new news. It's not
new news.
It's not new news. It's
new news.
It's old news.
Oh.
But I saw it this week and I found it quite fitting compared to seeing as what we're talking about. So it's from January 2024, written by Lawrence Bonk. And it's it's from Engadget.com, and it's a video of Doom running on it's a video of Doom running on gut bacteria, proving you really can play it. Apparently not. So, it's also like Crysis. There's always a joke about, can it run Doom? Can it run this? An MIT biotech researcher has been able to run the iconic computer game Doom using actual gut bacteria. Lauren Ramland didn't get the game going on a digital simulation of bacteria, but turned actual bacteria into pixels to display the 30-year-old FPS. So she made a cell wall made entirely of E. coli bacteria, and it was a 32 by 48 1-bit display running Doom. And you can see the video of it. It's incredible.
I'll put some footage up, because I always, this stuff always like beggars belief when you see this, like when people go, I got it running on a 40-year-old digital watch, or I got it I got it running on a microwave, or you just think, and I love that it's always Doom, by the way. I still absolutely love it's always Doom that gets this. I can run it on anything, but I think this might be the first time it's been run on something bacterial, like on something that is literally
incredible.
Something from inside a human body.
Yeah. So it takes 70 minutes for the bacteria to illuminate one frame of the game, another 8 hours to return to its starting state. This translates to nearly 9 hours per frame, which means it would take around 600 years to play the game, though, from start to finish.
Okay, all right. So they've made Doom into Crimson Desert. All right, okay, I get it. Right, okay, but yeah, I mean, yeah, all right, fair enough. It's not. It's running. Some people have PCs that still do this as frame per second.
Yeah. But honestly, I just, when I saw that crop up on my timeline this week, I just thought, that's astonishing, isn't it? I mean,
that is brilliant.
Yeah. So
I love it.
You know, you can, yes. If anyone asks you, can you run Doom on bacteria? Well, yes, you can. So,
well, yeah. I only have one bit of news today.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, it's all right. I just didn't look at the notes or put it in there. And the only reason I'm aware of this happening is because I was woken up by the cheering on the streets to the news, which is weird. Or maybe it wasn't on the streets, maybe it was just in the forums. But yeah, so Xbox CEO Ashish Sharma has announced not only some leadership changes, don't care, that was going to happen anyway, but also the end of development for gaming Copilot on consoles as they begin to phase the feature out on both consoles and mobile. So yeah, she said, Xbox needs to move faster and deepen our connection with the community and address friction for both players and developers. And as part of this shift, you'll see us to begin to retire features that don't align with where we're headed. We will begin winding down Copilot on mobile and will stop development of Copilot on console. I think why this has become a bit of a thing is because her background, for those who aren't aware, she was the head of AI or director or VP of AI over at Microsoft before moving and getting the gig with Xbox. So I think a lot of people assumed that AI would be the thing that then came into Xbox more heavily. And I don't know whether this is done to kind of stop some of the, I don't know if in the background there'll still be AI stuff going on, but certainly, developer Copilot. Nobody wanted Copilot on fucking Xbox. I didn't want it on my Asus ROG. You go and go, don't worry, you've got Copilot. I don't care. I really couldn't give a toss. So I don't know whether it's done just to prove to people that I'm not really that interested in it and therefore or if it is genuinely that we probably should just throw it away because nobody really cared about it. Whichever, it's good news, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it doesn't help the image. Also, look, they can always implement it whenever they want. And I remember we were saying that Sony had also been looking at introducing things like AI that I think could play the game for you, couldn't it? If you got stuck. So I think they'll probably play a bit of game of cat and mouse and watch each other on there. But look, I think for now, do you need Copilot or AI on your Xbox? No. Do you need it on your PlayStation? No. So why, when at the moment, look, we've seen a lot of things that Xbox tried to do with the Xbox One is now coming to fruition. And we keep saying they were ahead of their time with some of the things that they were trying to do. Probably 5 years time when hopefully the AI bubble has burst a little bit, it might be, we're now going to introduce Copilot or this because we can do this, that, the other with the game.
Well, they might have the right army of people to do it, right? Because what was interesting within that about the people that she then promoted to work on the Xbox, did you see where their former backgrounds were?
No.
So one was the former Core AI VP of product, right. One was the former Core AI president of design, and one was the former Core AI head of growth, along with the former Core AI general manager of AI innovation. So you quite often, as a leader stepping into a bigger, you surround yourself with a team you trust, et cetera, I totally get that, right? And I think that's probably what this is, rather than just them being AI. But there was a lot of people. Also, she did hire someone from a previous role at Instacart as well to come in and help. So, there is a bit of that. But yeah, it was almost uncanny that out of the 5 or 6 roles she announced, like 4 of them were all from previous AI roles.
So, yeah, I think at some point down the line, I'm sure we'll see it. We'll see.
I think so.
Or maybe it's going to be used to in the background, right? So, yeah.
Who knows?
Right. Anything else?
No, that's it. No, sorry. I know
No,
you wanted to be.
No. I just did it. Yeah, like I said,
there probably is a ton of stuff, but
felt rude. Felt rude. All right, look. Let's go on to the main event. So it's Doom 2016. Now, why have I picked this to talk about? Well, it's actually last week when this comes out, but the week recording, it's turning 10. And I thought, look, I know we've mentioned Doom a couple of times, but it's one of the royal families of gaming, right? And we've not really...
You can play it on anything, Dan.
Yeah, well, that was bacteria. So this was it. So, it was developed by id Software, published by Bethesda. It was released, and this was what I was chuckling, on the PlayStation 4, Windows, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, Stadia, and apparently E. coli. So before kind of getting to it, and look, I'm not going to do an in-depth review of the game itself because, we don't tend to do that. And I think even Game Club Pod have got one sort of a year or two ago. So, go listen to that. I want to talk more about Doom as an entity and also why this one, I think, was
entity of Doom.
Yeah, why this was a bit special. But before I do, what's your history, if anything, with Doom? Did you play it, the original? Are you a Doomer?
Yeah. So Doom. So I had a best mate when I was a kid, my mate PJ, and he had a brother called Mark. Hi both. I remember going around to PJ's house once, and his brother had got hold of a copy of Doom on what was probably, I'm going to say, Atari ST or something similar. And oh my God, it was like being transported to another world. And we were just, not Mars, obviously, but we were just obsessed with just playing Doom. And then I remember the mods and stuff that come out for it when you'd start playing it, and you'd have all the voiceovers and stuff from like Evil Dead. Medieval Dead and things like that, and he was just, this is my boomstick and all that sort of stuff when you picked up the shotgun, and I just totally obsessed with the game. There was nothing else out there like it, running. Yeah, you'd had Wolfenstein and things like that, but running around, and the secrets, shooting the little things and opening side doors, and then the different demon type stuff. I was, totally obsessed with that game when it came out. I thought, it was just something so different from anything else that had existed. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
See,
I never played all the others as well.
Well, that's it. I never really did have a history with it because I can't remember, and I'm not sure why. Maybe, I don't think at that time, maybe I didn't have a PC. No, I wouldn't have had a PC. I would have had, the Amiga, but for whatever reason, didn't have Doom. But I remember going to a mate's house who had, I think, Doom and Wolfenstein, because they were fairly similar, weren't they? In style, in tone, I think.
Yes.
Along with, I remember he had 4D Sports Boxing, which was a weird game. But anyway, and just thinking it was, you can look at it now and anyone will say, oh God, that's really basic. But it was frenetic. It was frantic. It was bloody. It was, it's going to be laughable nowadays, but it was kind of gory in that sense, wasn't it?
It was, but it wasn't basic for the time. You're talking about a time when...
I'm saying now, it might look basic now.
Now it would, but
because
at
it
the
came
time,
out in 93, just as a reminder.
Yeah, the closest thing you had to kind of 3D games, if you like, was stuff like Elite and things like that, which also competed for screen time when we used to play this stuff, as around mates' houses and stuff. But there was nothing else like it. Nothing else looked like it, played like it, ran like it. There were no other 3D shooters. It fucking defined FPSs.
Yeah.
It's the granddaddy of first-person shooters, right? Anyone out there who plays Call of Duty, Battlefield, fucking any other FPS, this is the godfather of every single one of them, right? Yeah. And it has the crown because of that very reason. It was fucking awesome, Dan.
Yeah. So it came out in 93. You then had Doom 2 in 94. You then had, they released some sort of extra levels, etc. You had Final Doom in 96, which I love when...
It wasn't.
Yeah,
it was. It just wasn't.
You had Doom 64 in 97, and then kind of you had Doom 3, which was the next big one in 2004. They then had some random games appear in between, like some repackages, etc. Yeah. But, really... Doom 3 2004. So along comes Doom 2016, right? So why did it need to do a comeback, and what was the landscape in gaming around that time? So I kind of was looking around 2014 to 2016. And if you're looking at that, so around 2014, you've got the whole modern warfare trend, right? So from 2007, you were seeing this move towards it. So franchises like Call of Duty and Battlefield were dominant. There were, but you were starting to see some signs of shooter fatigue, right? With gamers wanting to get back to kind of a bit more traversal. So it was, real boots on the ground, like we said, gritty, realistic. These military.
Isn't this boomer shooter territory? Is that what they refer to this as? Because it was kind of I'm not a boomer, but because it was my era, I guess, of shooters.
I think it's also more, shooters became quite slow paced, and it was quite sort of cover and shoot, and you wanted just that frantic. Here's a big shotgun, go point it at those enemies.
There's a BFG.
Yeah, so, you had in 2014, you had some subgenres starting to come out that were trying to diversify the FPS, so like Towers of Guns, Consortium, etc., that were blending sort of like roguelikes and RPG elements. Now, 2014 was notable for one game in particular, which we've mentioned both on here and in private conversations for multiplayer shooters, a game by the name of Titanfall. Yeah, so developed by Respawn, which was formed by some of the original creators of Call of Duty. And this is what it's saying. It brought a bit of energy, fresh energy to the table, right? So it mixed responsive gunplay with exciting movement options like wall running, double jumps, and look, who could forget when you could call in the giant mech, right? During the matches. So it showed players and developers alike that shooters, you didn't have to stick to the traditional boots on the ground formula. So, just quickly, Titanfall, you were saying it, brilliant, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely incredible. I was obsessed with that game as well. And this was a time when I played a bit of Call of Duty online and stuff, but then you got into that game and you're just like, I can run up walls.
Yeah.
I can call in a massive robot. I can jump in my Titan. And it was just insane. It was such a good game. I'm so devastated that I know Zampeller's no longer with us, sadly, but the fact that we're not going to see a Titanfall 3 is a real sadness. But yeah, I love Titanfall. I thought it was so good. It introduced verticality to the whole, FPS. It allowed, you could wall jump, double jump. You had the little thruster boots, the double jump. You had various different kind of not trick shots, but traps and things like that you could lay down as well, which really took it away from something standard like Call of Duty. So much thought went into it. I know we're not talking about Titanfall here, but it was brilliant.
And one of the other good things that game did was it introduced, it had bots in it as well, didn't it? So even if you weren't necessarily a great gamer, you could still get the streaks and get your Titan because of the bots. Now, that game did well. It sold 925,000 copies in the first 3 weeks in the US alone, but it did get criticism that players were disappointed that it didn't have a traditional single player campaign, right? But as you said, it proved that you could shake up the FPS genre by getting away from what people were starting to get a bit fatigued with, the normal sort of on the ground shooter, right? So along with this, and look, I'm trying, we'll talk about Doom, but I just still set
the scene, dude.
Yeah. But I think it's important to know kind of what leads up to this. So you also had in 2014 the single player games starting to make a comeback in FPS. So you had Wolfenstein New Order, which I know you've played and really enjoyed.
Oh, it's again, Machine Games created Wolfenstein New Order again in the Bethesda catalog. It's fucking brilliant. That alternative, Nazi Germany. I played through them again recently, and both of them, and I think they're both of the Wolfenstein remakes. I'm ignoring Youngblood, and I'm so excited they're making a Wolfenstein 3 because it's brilliant. Go play it. End.
Yeah. Not only that, well, what that showed, was that you could get a single player storyline into it and make it feel exciting. So look, the ones we've mentioned, Titanfall, verticality, Wolfenstein, a story, a campaign. The other major release at that time was Alien Isolation, right? Now, what that kind of brought to the table was bringing that sense of atmosphere, the kind of, the oppressive nature of like the enemy and the tension, right? So, again, these sort of show that FPS isn't just about army man shooting opposite army man, right?
Yeah. I have no point of reference for Alien Isolation. I have never played it. I've always heard really good things about it, but I know it's not a, move forward, shooty thing. It's a hide the fuck out of it because you're going to die. It's basically, yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, which I won't go too much into, but we've mentioned it as well. You're starting to get the live service.
For your Destiny,
sort of thing, Destiny,
I guess, yeah.
etc. And your competitive shooters, you've got Counter-Strike Go and Rainbow Six Siege, right?
Yep.
So, Doom.
Mm.
We've just said the previous game to this one was Doom 3 in 2004, which it was well received, but proved a bit divisive to players and reviewers for being slow. So a major sort of criticism that was given was that players had to put away their weapons to use a handheld flashlight. And I remember that, because it was, people saying, okay, that adds to the horror, but others, like we said, when you play Doom, you want to be waving a shotgun around, right? Not a torch.
You're Doom guy, man. You're literally running forward, shooting everything. That's Doom.
Yeah.
Doesn't come with an instruction manual. Doesn't need one.
Yeah. We'll come on to that. Horror focus. So Doom 3 focused on the slower survival horror experience. They said it was a heavy deviation that prioritized jump scares over a traditional power fantasy and linear. It was criticized for being a bit linear, repetitive, and monster closet ambushes that you could predict.
Remember it well.
So what was needed? Speed and chaos. That needed to come back.
I like those two things.
Yeah. So they start developing a new Doom. And I think it's safe to say it had a troubled journey to release. So it actually began in 2008. So you're looking at what, an 8-year sort of gestation period, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So after Doom 3, it started working on a new IP, Rage. Do you remember Rage?
I loved Rage.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved Rage. Rage 2 sucked, but Rage was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I remember having that. I've still got it, actually. I've still got Rage. Yeah. And I really enjoy it. Again, if you haven't played it, it's like Mad Max.
Mad Max,
basically.
Yeah.
And that thing you could throw that just took people's heads off was just genius.
Yeah,
because that's
like
all I ever used, I think. It was, boomerang set people's heads off. Brilliant. Anyway, Rage, great game. Sorry, Doom.
No, so
Stop mentioning good games, Dan.
Well, unfortunately, you have to. So id were working on that, and they tried then to license Doom to another developer, like it did with Wolfenstein, but it didn't. It failed. So in 2007, they say, "All right, let's start developing Doom 4." But at the time, the studio only had 19 employees, and it was struggling to develop Rage and Doom 4 at the same time. So they start looking again. They still wanted to push it out. So in 2009, so what we're talking about a year later, ZeniMax Media, who are the parent company of Bethesda, acquired id and announced that Bethesda would publish future games. So this then meant, though, that the company could have two teams working in parallel with each other. So you could have two projects. So we get to 2009, where, like I said, we're asked whether Doom 4 would be a sequel to Doom 3 or a reboot. They said it was neither, which I find a funny answer.
It's got to be one or the other, isn't it? I mean...
And that's the thing, and I think that's why at that point they probably didn't know what they wanted to do, right? So it was looking to be a cinematic, story-driven experience written by science fiction writer Graham Joyce, and it was going to be set on Earth during a demonic invasion with the player joining a human resistance. So gameplay...
It's a bit boring.
Well, exactly.
Okay.
unlike the high-speed action of the game that eventually came out, Doom 4 was showing, quotes, realistically slow, like that's a selling point, movement, had iron sight aiming and tactical
It
cover.
sounds like Call of Duty.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
when footage came out, it was called Call of Doom, right? So
Oh my God.
this is the thing. So early levels involved fighting zombies and mutated humans in riot gears while you had to take cover behind environments, like so anti-Doom, right?
Oh my God. Right. Yeah.
The game focused heavily on secondary characters and the impact of the invasion rather than the power fantasy of a single protagonist. So the creative director noted that this version sacrificed the Doomslayer to tell a bigger, more realistic story. But the other thing was the game was targeted at 30 frames per second. Now, whilst, there's that whole debate, not going to say it, I think we know that Doom is probably at its best when it's moving quicker.
20 frames a second normally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 years later, 2011, it was in officially development hell and was scrapped because it lacked the passion and soul of an id Software game. The game became known as Call of Doom, which reflected a fear that the game was becoming basically a pastiche of other games, right? And they just slapped a Doom title on it. Now, this is, I think, the most damning thing. Critics and testers who saw those versions said the combat was disconnected and joyless. It relied on scripted and joyless cinematic moments. So,
right, okay.
I'm not saying Doom's the cheeriest of games, but there is that satisfaction when playing it. So,
do you know what's really interesting about this? And you can see why. Just before Doom Dark Ages came out, a lot of people were worried. Because actually, a lot of the things you're talking about, all right, you weren't hiding behind cover, but you had a shield. But it is it's not rapid. It's very tank-like. There's lots of cutscenes, and segues where you're riding a dragon or a mech, or so you can see just from this why people would have been worried because it'd been through that kind of phase and gone, it doesn't work for Doom.
Yeah.
Right, we tried that doesn't work. So why have you done it again and launched this franchise now around Doom Dark Ages? And ironically, it does fucking work because it's absolutely brilliant. But they introduced those mechanics around parrying and countering and things like that have made it work. But just fascinating to hear that and then go, oh no, actually, yeah, I can see why people might have been really worried about Doom Dark Ages.
And that's a really good point, because the thing is, like you said in Dark Ages, it's the parrying and stuff. It still feels really fluid and almost like a ballet, if want of a better term. It feels fun.
There must have been a real balance to get that right and go, right, how does it? Yeah, totally.
And to go from Doom 1, 2, slight disappointment of 3, and then for it to be called Call of Doom, you wouldn't have been looking forward to it, right?
Great thing. I love it.
So in 2013, Bethesda confirms the dev team had completely rebooted. Basically, they pivot to a version that leaned into the core elements of the brand, and this is what I love. We keep talking, and I know when you join companies, the core values. People sometimes you get the roll of the eyes, but I think this can really be important to a vision. Right? The three values were irreverence, heavy metal aesthetics, and overwhelming power. I mean, as core values go, right?
I love it. Right, and that game. If anyone mentions a video game and goes, "What game do you think is most metal?"
Yeah,
it's always going to be Doom, right? Because that's what it is. It's that Pit of Hell album cover style running around. Even the iconic image of like the Doomslayer with the gun and standing on the, it's a metal cover, right?
It's no messing. Right?
Totally not.
So what did
so
they?
Good.
Yeah, what did they look to do to kind of start regalvanizing this? So you got the push forward combat. So the team developed a gameplay loop where health and ammo were gained by being aggressive rather than retreating behind cover. All right.
Yeah.
The glory kill systems. So we've seen this a number of times. It's kind of like an execution, but you got the things from some of the original Doom 4, which they had a mechanic called the sync melee, was repurposed into the glory kill that rewarded you for basically up close sort of execution style kills, right? And I've just before kind of putting the notes together, I did re-download the game to play it, and yeah, they are in your face, and that is what gets you the extra light health, etc. So
they're brilliant.
You're encouraged.
They're brilliant.
To
when the
do
enemy
that,
starts flashing and you can rush up to them and do the close-up counter, they're just superb.
Yeah, and you can
just
have like 2 or 3 in a row, and you could just do that. And this, that you said yourself, you mentioned it a couple of times, the Slayer identity. So the narrative shifted back to focusing on a single, almost like mythical protagonist, the Doomslayer, right? Who was designed to be feared and avoided by allies and foes alike.
Totally.
That's
didn't
the
give
key
a shit.
thing. Yeah.
They didn't give a shit, protagonist. It's like, I'll kill anything. I'm just going to kill it, whatever it is. I still remember the opening of that game where you're in not a cell, but you're in attached to a thing, and you put your helmet on. It's so good. Yeah. It's so good.
And that's the thing. How many times in a lot of games, I love, are guilty of making the hero very navel gazing and am I doing the right thing? Is this the right course of action? Doomslayer again. Where's the rocket launcher? Where's the chainsaw?
Yeah.
Who's next?
Just gonna kill shit.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. So everything we've just said there made sure it shifted from a slow cinematic military shooter that it could have been to, quote again, unapologetically Doom experience, which I think what that means if you've played it, right?
Totally.
So if we then dig deeper into it a little bit, so we've mentioned the push forward combat, right? So this is what they really kind of made the core focus of the game. So, games like Call of Duty, I do it as well. I'm not necessarily the best at shooters, right? So you get the damage, your screen goes red, you find a corner to hide around, don't you?
Totally. Yep, that's what you do.
I struggled when I first started playing this again because you can't do that. You got no regen health.
You want to heal, you want ammo, you got to get stuck in, and you got to hit things. You got to shoot them, you got to be aggressive, you got to kill them when they're flashing so you get more of something of a drop. That's the whole point of the game, right?
But to then mix in what we were saying, the glory kill mechanics, when if you're low on health, you've got to go right into the dragon's den, as it were, to get that extra.
Close, dude.
But what I also did, and again, I struggled with this because I kept pressing the button to do it. It removed reload mechanics.
I didn't realise that. So you just reloaded when you ran out of ammo. It just automatically reloaded.
Yeah.
Well, the shotgun would be the double barreled because you just literally bang, reload. But I didn't realise that on the other stuff.
It let players carry a huge arsenal of weapons and focused on dodging projectiles rather than hiding, from the instant hit gunfire. And I think, again, you're looking at all these mechanics to, instead of slowing the player down, you're trying to encourage the player to go on, keep going forwards, right? Now, storytelling, this was, because I thought you were going to say it, you always did, but so what they then decided to do was also reboot their story. So where games start doing the long cutscenes, and look, I'm not criticizing it because I do love a cutscene. Call of Duty was becoming a lot more cinematic, wasn't it, in terms of what they were presenting. Doom wanted to keep the action front and center. So the story was there, but it didn't, and look, you might see this as criticism, didn't get in the way of the gameplay, right? So one of the funniest things is and it happens right at the start, you mentioned, so you wake up on the table, don't you? I think you're being experimented on. You get up, you start getting a message from a TV screen from like one of the characters that is going to help you, and you just punch the screen.
Yeah, no exposition needed. Yeah, smash.
And like the game, like the quote here says, it's almost basically telling you less talking, more fighting. So it's like
you are not wandering around picking up data pads, interested in why this thing happened and what happened. You are going, it's here, it's in my face. I'm going to take it out. That's it. Fucking brilliant.
It's like, you can be in your safe little office somewhere telling me what I have to do, but I'm the one here having to do it. So the other thing that it kind of did, and again, you can really see it now, but it brought back like the arena shooter, right? So, you things like Quake was particularly like that, wasn't it? Where you're in an area. So that
you're in a single zone fighting enemies or. Yeah,
so this puts you into layered arenas with vertical movements. I think you got 3 levels, or at least in the version, the level I was on, you had 3 levels. Yeah. And you're then looking ahead. So, you're getting hit from all angles, and then you realize, right, I can parkour up to that. I can parkour up to that. And you are then starting to use, like you said, like you do in Titanfall, you're starting to say, right, verticality is a thing.
Yeah. And necessary to survive. Yes. You can't just keep staying where you are, because a lot of the enemies that you might not be able to hit are on higher levels. So you have to kind of get up to them to actually take them out. Or as you quite rightly said, if you want to continue, with your health, armor, ammo, you have to get a glory kill in on that particular enemy to make sure you get that thing. Otherwise, you're going to run it. You stay on the ground, you run out. And I made the same mistake when I first started playing it. I was like, nah, I'm dead. Why do I keep dying? Because I'm not using what it's giving me. I'm doing what I think I should be doing, and I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah. It is funny going back to that after a while of not, if you've just been playing your normal sort of standard FPS.
Right, totally.
And look, having said that, all that about the story as well is, so it did have a story, but it like I said, rather than trying to do the cutscenes, they have the classic thing. You've got the, you've got the audio logs, you've got the written, it's like tablets, etc. you can find. So they wanted to put the story there for you, but if that wasn't your thing, and look, how many times, even me, like I've said I've enjoyed the thaumaturge. There's so much to pick up. Am I reading everything I pick up? No, because I want to get to the next battle always, So
I don't remember picking up, other than ones that you're supposed to pick up because that's the thing you're supposed to do. I don't remember picking them up and listening to any of the shit that happened in Doom. I was like, what can I kill? When can I kill it? How can I kill it? Let me do that.
But at least they do put that in there if you wanted. So it's almost like, look, we're not going to ignore it. We just want.
Isn't it the same as every other Doom story?
Yeah.
Place gets overtaken by demons. Doomslayer is awakened to kill things that have overtaken the place where you are. And it was probably Mars again on this one, right? And you were trying to stop them to get, I think you were trying to stop them from teleporting to Earth or something like that. It was some sort of.
I think basically the story is that you're in a facility on Mars, and I think they're linking up with Hell. I think it's for either for the energy or for the, some of the demons maybe to train. I didn't play through again. And
didn't listen to the data pads, Dan.
No, I didn't. And it's about, sort of stopping basically Hell overrunning Mars, right? So, there's a moral there, right? Isn't there? So
don't go Mars.
Yeah, don't go Mars. And
looking at you, Musk.
Don't open Hell.
Don't open the Hell portal.
Yeah, you said, my next point, you said it, they intentionally is, the Doomslayer is revealed through his actions. So, I don't think he actually speaks, and I don't think he ever has done, but you've nailed who he was without, him needing to say a word, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And, we've said before, haven't we, about the silent protagonist. I don't often like it, but I think having a talking protagonist, because they would have just made him quite sort of smarmy or sarky, I think, in this sort of game, and it would totally
it's totally not necessary.
Yeah. So why it worked? Having said all that, so it proved that the shooters didn't need to, put a story in your face. It didn't need to hold your hand. It could let you experience a story if you wanted to. But it's basically, if you want the fun, go for it. If you want to have the fun with a bit of reading, a little bit of light reading, you can do that as well. So,
I'm going to take time out to do it while you're murdering demons. Let me just, I'm just going to stop here for a second, read. Just need a break. No.
But on that though, what's your view on that? Because I know when I went back into it, I found it quite a jolt because I've been playing a lot of story-heavy games recently, I guess. I think you've made it clear you really enjoy the game. So do you need a story in a shooter?
I think it depends on, I think you can class Pragmata as a shooter, right? I really enjoyed the story. I think it was woven in really well. It wasn't super heavy, but or complex, but it was enjoyable. It was a nice romp. I don't need a story around Doom, right? And it's Doom adjacent cousin Wolfenstein. I think you could easily have gone down the route of the original Wolfenstein, which again, you were in bunker and then eventually a castle murdering Nazis, right? Which is fun. Everyone wants to do that. But when they brought out New Order and Colossus, was it New Colossus?
Yeah,
Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
They were phenomenal for the story. The stories were brilliant. So they proved that you could create this, you could take the same mold of a game, but create something entirely different, still around the FPS mechanic. But for Doom particularly, I don't need a story, Dan, because every single one of them that's been released has been the same fucking story. Even Dark Ages was the same story, different place. But, oh no, we've been overrun by Hell's minions. Can someone wake up the Doomslayer and get him to kill him? Nobody wants to be near him because he kills everyone. Oh, fine. So I don't need a story. I'm happy with the situation. I just know what I've got to do. Go do it.
And that's a really interesting point about Wolfenstein. Yeah, that they did turn that into like your traditional story-based shooter. And they did that really well.
Done as well. Yeah. Brilliantly done. The story in there, you're the group that you're with in the first one, and then you find another group in the second one, and you find the woman that you lost, and she's pregnant, and the whole thing is just phenomenal. But done, like I said, same template, just lift and shift into a slightly different same mechanics, lift and shift into a different story or different way of telling a story.
What is funny, I think I may mention it later on, but one of the collectibles that I think that help you get sort of some power-ups is these little Doom guy dolls.
Oh, the bobbleheads.
Yeah, the bobbleheads.
Yeah, Doom bobbleheads.
I find it funny him collecting that, though.
Yeah. Where's he put them all? I want to know. Has he got a backpack?
In his pockets.
Hanging them on his belt.
He's got a prison pocket. Sending them to hell as little sort of reminders. I'm coming for you.
Go for you.
Yeah. Right. We then move on to the soundtrack, and you've said yourself that it's probably the most metal. Sort of.
So good.
Yeah. So composed by Mick Gordon, and as we know now, it's a critical component of the game, right? So again, it's called the Agent of Adrenaline, which I love that term. That goes hand in hand with the gameplay, and it's true, isn't it? Look, I'm not a metalhead, but it goes so well with the action that you've got on the screen, doesn't it? It just feels like it should have
every single bit. Yeah, you're not standing up to a power chord. You're mashing fire button to a power chord. It's brilliant. It's so good. And I think even some games have taken it a step further now, haven't they? What was that game you had that was like almost a musical rhythm game? You shot in time to the music, and the music was all metal. I can't remember what it's called. But
Hellslinger, is it?
Yeah, one of those. Something like that. But that they've taken that Doom template and gone right, and the music, because it's so influential, and have gone right. I'm going to create a game around it. It's magical.
Well, look, I love the whole thing about music in games, and I want to do an episode on it one day. But yeah, this just sort of went full pedal to the metal, right? Didn't it? So
Yeah, lean into that shit.
Yeah. So it was designed, the design of it was a number of things in there. So you had industrial metal fusion. So to achieve its heavy, crunchy sound, the score, and look, for some of the music people out there, you probably want to love all this. So it used a lot of post-processing and a variety of chained analog preamp modules to get that sound. So what they're trying to achieve, and I think it did, so it felt like it was a modern soundtrack, but felt like it could have easily been at home in one of the 90s games.
Totally. I mean, I didn't understand any of the words that you said linked together, and they were all words, but I didn't understand them in that context.
Music people hopefully will say,
worked, yeah. Something processing crunch thing. Yeah. But it was fucking brilliant.
And another thing that I think you've just touched on with some of the other games, which I think we don't often appreciate enough, is that it was essential to the combat loop as well. So it's designed to try to sync in with the action and ramps up an intensity as your on-screen aggressiveness does as well.
You cannot have Doom without metal music. right? You imagine you'd have put something like the music from a game like Pragmata over the top of something like Doom. You know, Pragmata was very synth heavy, kind of, very futuristic. You put that because, for all intents and purposes, you're on a planet outside of Earth's orbit, right? All right, you're fighting demons instead of AI. But you could kind of go, well, it could easily be a futuristic type. You can't have Doom in that space. You wouldn't have bothered.
Yeah.
But put metal soundtrack on it, I'm having it.
Yeah. So and look, and it's what it's trying to achieve. What it was trying to achieve is it was trying to avoid necessarily look. And I love the Halo soundtrack because it's really orchestral and ethereal, but it wanted to be the complete opposite of that and just be a medium of viscerality and, as it said, responsibility to convey your power on the screen, right? And it was one of the most highly praised aspects of the game. Next to which I think is amazing, we're seeing it a lot more now, like Expedition 33. Next to the actual campaign itself, the graphics, you then getting the music being called out. Now, I think nowadays it's more of a thing, we've talked about on here, South of Midnight, etc. But I think it's about time, and we're going back 10 years for this. I think I would love to go back and have the games that really included music so well to be called out, because I think we've ignored that. Not you and me, but we as gamers have often overlooked that.
I think it's really easy to do. There don't get me wrong, there are plenty of nerds out there who fucking love video game music. They buy the soundtracks, but to really obscure stuff as well, like, the fucking 1982 JRPG type soundtrack that's like, in chiptune. And you're like, and these people love this stuff, and more power to them, by the way, you do you. I just, it's never something I've never thought, do you know what, I've got to go and buy that because I've heard it in a game. I can totally get it when I hear, Expedition 33, beautiful soundtrack, right? Done superbly well and so fitting with the game. Something I'd listen to outside the game? Absolutely not. But I know I can appreciate why you would. Do you know what I mean? It's not, I don't see it as because music is music, right? It doesn't have to be produced by a popular band just to be great. But yeah, I mean, even as much as I love metal and as much as I love Doom, I wouldn't buy the soundtrack and listen to it, but I can appreciate what it was and loved the soundtrack while I was playing the game. Totally.
Yeah, I think that's the thing now. I think we've seen game soundtracks almost become independent from the game. You, in the sense of you could listen to it in itself. I wanted the Expedition 33 one, but they sold out of the nice limited version I wanted. But anyway, enough of my heartbreak. So
that's done.
Yeah. It was, so we mentioned as well, so about the level design, etc. So I might repeat some of the things, but we've said it was 13 levels. It was mainly the open arenas where the demon encounters occur. Just in the opening half hour I played yesterday, it was great because you've got an internal one where, again, you're jumping on lifts, you're jumping, around sort of like monitor screens. Then you've got one outside, so you've got little cliff edges where you might also drop down and you have to then run around. But by doing that, you're seeing other enemies and potentially secrets. So, you've constantly got to do these little arenas to open the door. I mean, I guess that's a bit cliched now about the door won't open until you defeat the last demon. I mean,
but the locked door mechanic's been around forever, right? Zelda did it. It's, all of these, I mean, even Zelda, A Link to the Past, had the locked door mechanic, right?
Yeah.
You went to a room, you couldn't get out, you had to get a key, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I'm just going to give up and leave.
Yeah, so, I mentioned the verticality. You've got potentially 3 planes, so you've got the bottom, top, middle, and bottom to do what is it? What was that game show? Top, middle, and bottom. Strike it lucky. Strike it lucky.
Oh my god!
And when I read this after I'd played like the first hour, I hadn't really clocked this, but you've got what is called one-way drops. So the designers used a downward flow, like ledges that you couldn't climb back up.
Yes.
To force you to move to new combat areas and encounters, which again, the psychology of that is brilliant.
They used it a lot in Doom Dark Ages as well. Repeated that level design where you have a really. Do you not remember some of the ledges you drop off and it'd be a really long drop, and then you could land on enemies and smash. This is a similar thing, right? That one-way drop thing. They use them in quite a lot, but it's it's very cool.
I think in Doom, maybe I didn't clock it as much because you are constantly moving. So I'm not stopping to pause. So I'm just running, basically. I'm running to the enemies, not
run away.
Not away. I was running too.
Sure.
And as it said, as you've also got the fact that you need to then use projectiles that outmaneuver your opponents. You've got to think ahead. So it isn't just a case of, it's not just a dumb shooter. You've got to be looking ahead and planning where you're going.
Yeah, totally.
You've got a number of secrets even. You've mentioned the Doom Guy figurines. So you've got the data files. You've got secrets. Again, it's a clever way of also trying to encourage you to do that because, for example, if you find 50% of a secret in a level, it gets you an upgrade. And so you can then, that's really the best way of upgrading your level, your weapons.
Yeah.
The thing I hadn't clocked on this, I did it in Wolfenstein and I thought it was brilliant in Wolfenstein. It's actually got retro levels hidden within the game. So it's got a secret classic map in each mission of the single player campaign. Now, you have to do it by, to access a level, you must first find a hidden non-glowing lever somewhere in the mission. Pulling that triggers a distinctive guitar riff from the original game, and that means a door's open somewhere.
I don't think I did that in any of the levels. That's pretty cool, though.
Do you remember did you ever do it in Wolfenstein?
Yes, I definitely did do it in Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember it Wolfenstein. I didn't realise I didn't do.
No, I hadn't clocked that either. This is the thing. Sometimes that's why I love doing podcasts, because some of the things you pick up that you thought you knew. And
you get to sit with an idiot who can't remember A Link to the Past. So, double whammy, Dan.
So how did the game do? It was widely recognised as being a great game. It was credited with revitalising the franchise and proving again that arena shooter could work in the modern market. It was praised for everything we said. So the push forward combat, technically it looked great. The high energy soundtrack, the multiplayer less popular, but again, I don't think you're playing Doom really for a multiplayer, are you? It's for everything we've said.
Yeah, I mean they had Quake and things like that afterwards. I think Hexen as well had multiplayer on it. But yeah, you had Quake was certainly the king of multiplayers after Doom. I think a lot of people did play it because you had I think Rocket Jump was even Quake. But I think
that was Quake. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember very much the multiplayer feeling tacked on. Not that I played it, but I remember the complaints around the time. People kind of going, because I can remember 10 years ago, I just can't remember further back than that. I can remember, people were complaining about the multiplayer not being great. And it did feel a bit weird because you were like, I'm sure people used to play a lot of Doom multiplayer. Maybe I was wrong. But yeah.
I guess so. At this time, 2016, everything we've said, you've got your multiplayer games out there. Mm-hmm. So, and what we were saying earlier about Marathon, do you really want to compete with, stick it in? I mean, even Mass Effect 3 had multiplayer, right? So every game stuck it in. I guess whether you want to play it is up to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've moved my notes over. So it's got decent scores on Metacritic. So it had 85 on PC, 87 on Xbox One. So look, it's
2 out of 10 on IGN. Sorry.
Must try harder. Have you seen the T-shirts they've got now? 7 out of 10. Or the 7, the IGN 7. You can get T-shirts with that.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
I'm definitely a 6. Yeah.
The campaign was lauded as a masterpiece of action-first design. Multiplayer was feeling tacked on, but we've kind of said that. The game was a financial success, which I think isn't a surprise based on what we've said. The first year sales of Doom were roughly 3.6 million in 2016 alone. Yeah. By August 2016, the PC version had already surpassed 1 million copies and climbing to 2 million there on July 2017. Now, what else? Estimated revenue from its first year sales reached approximately $143 million. Later estimates suggest the game eventually surpassed 4 million owners on Steam and roughly 6 million copies sold by 2019. So yeah, it's done well. It's done well.
I don't know what always amazes me when we talk about numbers, and you look at a game like Doom and you think, my God, that must have sold shitloads, and then you kind of say, like in the first year it sold 3.6 million copies, right? And I think million as a number has become a little bit superfluous these days. We're like, a million doesn't sound like a lot anymore because there's this number of millionaires. It's still a fucking lot. A million is a lot, right? But 3.6 million. And then you're really, I don't get as surprised, but I should be when you see headlines like, Pragmata's past the, what was it, 5 million milestone now in however many days. And you're like, fuck, if Doom sold 3.6 in a year, and this, and that, it just blows my mind that, the games are now selling bigger, faster. I know it's 10 years later, but it's phenomenal, isn't it? Yeah. But good job, Doom.
I do wonder if social media and like the whole Twitch thing is helping that.
Yeah, potentially. Know. Well, we know the games market's huge, so, only growing. So,
yeah. So what did it win anything? Yes, it did. So in 2016, the Game Awards, it won the Best Action Game and Best Music Sound Design. At the DICE Awards in 2017, it won Outstanding Achievement in Original Music Composition. So again, the guy must be so happy with himself, I mean, in a genuine way there.
Yeah, and, it's no Clara Obscura, but yeah.
And it was named Game of the Year by Polygon and received Best Comeback from PC Gamer.
Nice.
So,
do you think they made that award up just for that game? I bet they never had a best comeback like ever. What are we awarding it to this time? Let's award it to Grand Theft Auto 3.
Actually, Grand Theft Auto 6 it'll probably be by the time it comes out. Hasn't gone away. So then I kind of looked to see, right, what was its legacy? What was its influence? So yeah, it's left its kind of shoe print, or the Doomslayer's left his boot print in a number of areas. So yep, the Boomer Shooter revival. So it's credited as kickstarting that. So, proves that high budget retro style shooter could be critically and commercially successful. It gave, it was like a stepping stone for publishers that they could then get the confidence to fund similar projects.
Nice.
Indie Renaissance, so it paved the way for a flood of successful retro-inspired hits. Dusk, a Medieval, Ultra Kill, which used similar mechanics, speed and aggression. AAA validation, which is a strange one. So it showed that the arena shooter was viable alongside. I've said it a number of times, but I think we've got to remember how incredibly dominant Call of Duty was, right? And everyone was then trying to be a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed we still never got Duke Nukem Forever though. even though it was success.
I'm here to chew gum and kick ass, and I'm all out of gum.
All out of gum. Yeah.
Duke Nukem, man, that's yeah. Let's come back to
Forever. Do you remember that? No, that's another episode entirely. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, it kind of popularized as well the use of the melee finishers to regain health. Stun finishers, and God of War, exactly. Audio, look, I'm just going to be re-emphasizing everything. The rhythm shooter, you brought that up. Yeah, and here we go. Yeah, Metal Hellslinger was the one I think you talked about.
That was the game, yep.
And it kind of proved that heavy metal was good, right?
I think we've always known heavy metal is good, Dan. Let's not go there. Let's not fall out.
Now, we talk about reviews a lot. This game did have a bit of a controversial thing around reviews on the PR industry. Bethesda withheld review copies until the day of launch. And what people find unusual about that is that that's often a move of, what's the word, of almost like no confidence in the game, isn't it?
Very, very frequently, yeah. Leaving a last minute review until, and a lot of, there's been some recently. Crimson Dawn, I think, was one of them where people are going, "Oh, I haven't got my review out because they've only just given it to us," and then kind of put it out and gone, "Oh, it wasn't very good." But yeah, that's surprising with something like this, mate. You know, I would have thought they'd have faith in it, but.
Well, I think they at the time then, this also then saw a number of other publishers doing the same thing. So, you know, whereas the media would often always want it weeks in advance, companies were now starting to say, no, you're getting it kind of like the day of or the day before. So yeah, found that an interesting thing to do. Now, I'm going to jump a section, but Easter eggs. I always love the Easter eggs in games. So I had to look to see, was there anything in this game? And of course there are. So you've got, I love this, the satanic spectrograph. So if the track Cyber Demon apparently is run through a spectrogram, it reveals the number 666 and multiple inverted pentagrams hidden within the audio waves.
Beautiful Easter egg, that is. That's something so obscure that no one would ever think of doing it, but so brilliant at the same time.
I love it. Composer Mick Gordon incorporated actual samples of a chainsaw into the pause screen music and the track Hellwalker to ground the sound in the game's signature industrial violence.
I love that man. Every time you mention something else about him, I love him a little bit more.
Yeah. To achieve the crunchy sound, Gordon used rare Soviet-era synthesizers and a complex chain, we said, of analog preamp modules. Yeah.
Sure. I still don't know what that means, but great.
There's a number of Easter eggs here in the game. There's a Terminator 2 tribute, apparently. And if you've done any of these, let me know. Dan, you as well, or anyone listening. If the Doomslayer dies by falling into lava, especially in the Foundry level, he will occasionally perform a thumbs-up gesture. Apparently.
Seen that.
I've
done that and seen that. Yeah, it's quite funny.
There is a skeleton wearing a football helmet found in a cave in Kadingir Sanctum is a reference to Commander Keen, an early id Software title.
Okay.
There is a Skyrim reference, which again, you forget that this game came out after Skyrim. Players can find a skeleton wearing the iconic Dragonborn helmet from Skyrim with an arrow to the knee, paying homage to the famous meme from its parent company Bethesda.
I used to be an adventurer till I took an arrow to the knee.
When did Skyrim come out? Was that 2012, was it?
12, I would have thought 12, 13, something like that.
2011, wow. Okay.
2011, man. I said 12 because I played it and obviously it wasn't out in the world until I played it.
Do you remember the arrow to the knee being everywhere?
It was everywhere.
Yeah.
I think I've done a joke about this on this
this
podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
You can also find the Vault-Tec logo from the Fallout series on some of the facilities' equipment. So, what else have we got? The title Doom was inspired by a scene in the Tom Cruise film The Colour of Money. When Cruise's character is asked what he has in the pool cue case, he replies with a cocky grin, Doom. John Carmack felt this perfectly captured the impact the game would have on the industry. So I know not specific to.
You've ever seen Colour of Money?
I don't think I have either.
Does Tom Cruise running it?
Is that the pool one? Is that the?
I would have thought so.
Hustling.
It references the pool case, the hustling one. It's him and Paul Newman.
Paul Newman.
Have you seen? I have to just digress because I will include a clip of it. Have you seen the latest AI video out there of famous running scenes from movies and Tom Cruise interrupting all of them and running?
No.
It's so good, man. I will put an image up of it on here so you can see it. But there's the one where he does, where Forrest Gump's running. And Tom Cruise barrels in sideways and shoves him over and just runs, and he's got this big grin on his face. And it's all different clips of people running in movies. I'll put it on. It's just you mentioned Tom Cruise. I'm going to put it on because it's funny. Enjoy, people.
And the only other thing I'm going to say on this now is as part of a marketing promotion, Bethesda sponsored a Doom-styled car driven by Mikhail Aleshin in the 2016 Indianapolis 500. Ironically, the car crashed during the race and was eliminated. So...
car, is it? I think I remember that car as well. I'll grab an image of it. I'm pretty sure I've seen that.
Look, and since then, we've had Doom VFR in 2017. You've had Doom Eternal. You've got Doom the Dark Ages come out last year. So, if you look at a timeline, this is a franchise now 33 years old. And I just thought it was important to call this one out because, we joked about the comeback and that award being made up. But this really did feel like it was a shot in the arm for this franchise, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it was an incredible game. Weirdly, I didn't go on as well with Doom Eternal. For me, I think it was just a step too far, and I really struggled getting the hang of it. And maybe it's that thing about, when you've played a bunch of other games and it operates very differently, you struggle to get back into it. Maybe it was that, and I just didn't take the time. But I struggled with Doom Eternal. But again, bought it as soon as it came out because I loved Doom so much and knew that the sequel would be just as good. And it probably is, like I said. But yeah, I loved Doom 2016. I mean, I love Doom. 2, 3, yeah, wasn't that bothered about. But the original Doom, part of my childhood, Doom 2016, phenomenal game, music, atmosphere, everything about it was just brilliant and sublime. And then, Doom Eternal struggled with, but Doom Dark Ages, fucking awesome again, just so metal, just such a good game.
Would you play it in VR?
2016?
Yeah, or even the new ones, because it feels like it might feel a bit sick playing.
I'd certainly try. I've never massively struggled with. A very quick sidebar. I've never struggled with motion sickness in VR games massively, right? And I do normally use the teleport mechanic intentionally, but in Deadpool VR that wasn't an option, so you had to kind of play. But weirdly, I was watching. Because before I got a headset, I was watching Half-Life Alyx. I was watching a video run through on YouTube of someone playing it. And I was watching it, and I watched it for about 20 minutes and got so motion sick, I had to turn it off. So I wasn't wearing a headset. I was just watching the fucking thing, and I got really motion sick. It was really weird. So I know there's something about me being in control of it is fine.
Maybe, yeah.
But someone else doing it just watching on a flat screen. So that was weird. But yeah, I'd give it a go. Why not? As long as it's not Resident Evil.
Yeah. Anything else on Doom from you, Dan, on any of them?
No, if you've never played it, what the fuck are you doing listening to this podcast? Go and play Doom.
Yeah, and play Mixtape. I think the only thing for me on it is, looking at...
two so different games. They are so diametrically opposed. It's unbelievable.
But music is key.
Yeah, sure.
What I would say about Doom is, looking at the timeline, right? I just think it's amazing. It's one of those franchises that have come along with us, like we've grown up alongside it. And like you said,
totally.
Play the original, play it now. And I would love if you're playing this and you're in like your 20s or 30s. Look, there's no reason to say that you can't play old game. I'm not saying that, but I would love to know how the modern Dooms are kind of seen outside of maybe people like us who have grown up with the Doom name. Do you know what I mean? You always look at certain things like this and think, is there a little bit of nostalgia in there? But look, it's a great game in its own right. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts on the Doom series, especially the 2016 entry is.
I think considering they've already started calling those sort of series boomer shooters, and boomer's supposed to be a derogatory term, I'm pretty sure they don't know much stock in them, but I could be completely wrong. I mean, unk.
Well, I think I've said all I want to say now. So,
all right, you don't want to say if you have enjoyed it though, in Dan's wonderful magical mystery tour of Doom, please do like and subscribe. You don't want to say something like that? I
was going to, but you've done it. So,
okay, fine.
All I will say is, look, subscribe everywhere you can. If you're listening audio only, do try. I know I keep saying it a lot, but do try to check out the video on Spotify or YouTube, because Dan H does do a wonderful job on the video edits, along with some little secret things that get added. Even stuff like me, like you make me crack up when you give me the video to sort of do a quick check. Like last week's episode, the mobile gaming, putting the Nokia theme tune at the start, that cracked me up. So, go check out the video. Otherwise, we'll see you next week for another episode of Gaming Views.